Welcome to the Riff. Today on the Riff, Jeremy gets to sit down with Andy and Shelley Ebbrecht to talk about life and their ups and downs with health. We hope today is helpful and hopeful. Thanks for listening.
Welcome, Riff listeners. I have been waiting all morning for you to log on and download this episode, and so I'm glad you finally did. We are thrilled about today's conversation. I am with some North Point friends, and I want to introduce the Ebbrechts to those of you who might not know them, but they are North Point legends. They've been here forever, and forever is defined as longer than me. That's what I define forever as. And so Andy, or Rue, but not Andrew Ebbrecht, and his wife Shelley. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy and Shelley. Now, here's what I'm learning today. I call you Andy. Shelley, you call him Andy or Rue.
Yeah.
But college people know you as Rue.
Yeah.
Golf friends like myself know you as Andy.
Yep.
Business people might know you as Andy.
The professional comes out as Andy, and then
Yeah.
my brother, friends, family, everybody kind of more Rue, I'd say, on that side.
So our Riff listeners, so if you see them in the supermarket and you recognize them, what do you prefer them to hail you as?
I answered about anything.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean, as
Very
long as you're
good.
making eye contact and you say something, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll probably come talk to you.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That's a good. So that's an invitation to all of you listening. Well, I am thrilled about this conversation because I think we're going to run the gamut of all types of things from North Point, Fairgrove. You all are residents of Fairgrove. In the city limit or outside the city limit?
We are outside.
So unincorporated Greene County, or is it Fairgrove? It's Fairgrove.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I can't be mayor. That's all I know.
You can't be the mayor?
No.
I would vote for you, but
Okay.
would I have to live in Fairgrove to vote for the mayor?
I once started a campaign
Did you?
and then realized I was too young.
Really?
I could
How
be.
old were you?
I
Like
could be
7?
a U.S. senator before I could be the mayor of Fairgrove.
Well, honestly, I think that would be a natural pipeline, right? Is go senator first because you want to know what you're doing before you
Totally.
take on a responsibility like Fairgrove mayorship.
But then we moved outside city limits and.
Okay. School board, maybe?
Oh.
I don't want to get political. But think about it. Just think about it. So, okay. So, I want to know how, well, let me say this. You all are big football fans. Matter of fact, as we're recording this, it is draft week.
Draft week.
Now, by the time you're listening to it, we're probably already in the playoffs again, speaking of Chiefs. But it is draft week, and you all, I know a couple things about you. You love football, and you love barbecue. So tell us a little bit how those passions come into play. So how are we comboing barbecue and football?
Well, I mean, it's Chiefs, so you've got tailgating. I mean, so that's...
So you're both big Chiefs fans?
Oh.
Yes, we're both Chiefs fans.
We are both. He's a big Chiefs
Can I
fan,
say
so
it this
I
way?
have to
Are
say,
you both rooting for Chiefs more than any other team?
No.
Okay, Shelley, go ahead and tell us who you root for.
I am a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan for life.
Yeah, and so when Tom Brady went there, that's when you started liking them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to decide who it's going to be this year.
Yeah, no, I get it. Probably New York Jets.
Okay, if there's one quarterback I would not root for more than Tom Brady, it would be Aaron Rodgers.
A-Rod. So you like the Bucs, but you
Like the
also
Bucs.
are very
Chiefs fan
fond
by
towards the
marriage.
Chiefs.
Yes,
Okay,
Chiefs
that's
fan by
good.
marriage.
And that's commitment. That's
So
commitment.
I
like that.
probably own as much Chiefs apparel as I do Tampa Bay apparel. So
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Now I also know so Rue or Andy. What's your barbecue? Is it Rue for barbecue?
So my barbecue team name is RubyQ.
Okay. I like that.
And so we got our
no
roots.
kangaroos were harmed
We
in the making
started
of
off
this
at
barbecue.
Rockin' Ribs
Sounds like an Outback special.
in Springfield. And the funny thing is we got a blow up kangaroo there, and everybody that would go by would come by. Well, are we sampling kangaroo here or something like that? Literally, I mean, every single team, all 60 teams or however many are there, are cooking the exact same thing for the public to eat.
Yeah.
But everybody's asking us, is this kangaroo? And so we had to make a sign that said, no kangaroos were harmed in the making of this barbecue. And
Have you ever had kangaroo?
I don't think I have. I'm not
I think
sure
you'd
if I've had
remember.
jerky.
Not on purpose.
I think I would. But I mean, when you get all those jerkies of every different animal and stuff.
I mean,
but
Fairgrove, have you
don't.
never been to a wild game feed?
not with kangaroos.
Okay, yeah, more possum. I get it. Okay, so you're an award-winning barbecue guy.
I've won some trophies. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
I'd like to say we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. And now you do like fan fests or barbecue, like
So
you're doing the draft.
I've semi-retired from the competition barbecue, and we got connected with one of the ladies that does a lot of the contests. And we do a lot of events for the Chiefs where we go to a lot of the away games and have a big barbecue fest there. And so we've had 2 of the last Super Bowls we've done. We rented out a stadium, had 2,000 people come to it to leave disappointed
It's like
because
more people in a stadium than a Cleveland Browns game.
That's true.
That's a big deal.
So,
So you guys are accomplished.
So we've
Oh, thank you.
we've done some things. So it's been fun, and so now we just get to go travel around to a lot of the away games and just host big tailgate parties at each of those events.
Have you ever entered our Nixa campus chili contest?
I have not.
Okay, that would be I don't know if they do trophies, but that's something maybe you should consider for the future. It's usually once a year, and but okay. So tell me how this Ebbrecht family started. So take me back, very beginning. Where'd y'all grow up? Start with you, Shelley.
I grew up in Fairgrove.
You are a native.
Native.
Okay.
Yes.
And they still won't let you run for mayor. Good
I know,
night.
right?
Okay.
They should be grandfathered in there.
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Okay, so you grew up in Fairgrove. What was life like in Fairgrove for you? Involved in sports, tuba player, anything?
I grew up a preacher's kid
Okay.
in Fairgrove. My
Okay.
dad was the pastor at Fairgrove First Baptist.
All right. So have you ever
sometimes.
sang an offertory?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Been in church a lot then.
I sang. I played the piano for worship some, and yeah,
Okay.
that's what I did. I played basketball, played softball, played a little volleyball. I mean, small town. If you can dribble a ball, you are in all the sports.
Yeah.
So,
I like it.
yeah, and
Pride of
then-
the Eagles. Is it the Eagles?
the Eagles, yeah.
Fairgrove Eagles. Okay.
graduated valedictorian.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
And went to what was then Southwest Missouri State.
Okay. Wow. All right.
And we were there for the big name change.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll let Andy tell a little more of that story.
Okay. So, and you're not from Fairgrove.
I am not from Fairgrove.
Where are you from?
I am from Kansas City, so Blue Springs.
Okay.
So I was the complete opposite of Fairgrove. I was the big school compared to the little school.
Did you know John March growing up? He's from Blue Springs as well. No, he's from Blue Eye. He's from Blue Eye.
Okay.
Blue something.
Because there's 2 Blue Springs. There's Blue Springs, the good one, and there's Blue Springs South.
Oh,
which
he
we
was the
don't-
bad one.
We don't talk about
Okay.
them.
Okay.
Really. So-
Okay. So you grew up big city guy.
So big city guy, everything. So I was big into sports. So went from football to basketball to baseball. I did mostly baseball. Played a lot. 3 Little League World Series I got to play in, so that was fun.
Wow.
But then
that's like more than I've watched.
Yeah.
You've been in
I've been in
3
them.
Little League World Series.
yeah. So
Wow.
it was fun, and then dropped baseball to switch over to the golf world once I hit high school, and
Same swing.
went on there. So
Yeah. This is the same
I
swing.
like them low. Yeah. So
Okay.
Baseball. So.
Who's the best baseball player you've ever played with or against? Besides me.
Ooh, man.
Just say George Brett. We can't prove it wrong.
Griffey. I think
Griffey.
we were kind of
Yeah.
close, you know, but the
for-
injuries hurt him in the long run, I think.
Yeah.
So, but
Well, that's good. Okay, so you grow up, and then how do y'all meet? Meet in college at
Met in
Yes.
college,
Southwest Missouri State.
Southwest Missouri State.
So was it love at first sight? Where'd you guys meet?
Well, actually, I knew Rue's brother first,
Okay.
and he sort of introduced us. But I remember we were at an event, and Rue was wearing a name tag that said Rue Ebbrecht, and I said, "Who is this guy? Like, he must be a foreign exchange student with a name like Rue Ebbrecht."
No names like that in Fairgrove.
No, not many.
And so, I mean, was it like, but, hey, I'd like to know this, Mr. Ebbrecht.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was.
we dated most
Okay.
of college, and then I graduated the first graduating class of Missouri State.
There.
Wow.
So once they changed the names, and so
Okay.
I've got that to hold on. Everybody else that was before me, my brother graduated beforehand, they'd send out a letter that says, hey, if you want a degree that says Missouri State on it, send us $150 or something on there. I'm like, yeah, no, we're good with the normal piece of paper. So,
Yeah. Now, if you're listening and you want a different degree, send me 50 and I'll print you out one.
You
So,
got it.
Yeah.
Boom.
So Missouri State alumni. Did you get married right out of college?
Yes. So he graduated in December. I graduated in May, and we were married June
Yep.
17th.
Got
Yeah.
it.
That's good. That's good. Well, as long as it's not today. I always get nervous when I start thinking anniversary dates.
I always get it wrong.
That's all right. Well, it sounds like you nailed it. So, okay.
been
So then
practicing.
now you all have two little Ebrechts running around.
We do.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about them.
Taylor, our daughter, is 10. No, almost 10.
Well, maybe by the time
Me
this
and dates
airs.
and ages don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe 10 now.
So, yeah. So Taylor is our oldest. And her distinguishing feature is her beautiful red hair.
Ah,
Yes.
Yes.
When she was born, we both looked at each other and said, that'll wash out, right?
Doesn't wash out.
Turns out, no, it was permanent.
Yeah. We tried.
and
Water,
so
lake water.
10 years old.
10 years old.
Good grief. And then Cannon is how old?
And Cannon is 7.
7. Okay.
So
Okay.
almost 3 years apart.
Well, I want to walk through a little bit of kind of your story of even, how parenting comes into it. But as you guys been married, what? How many years now? A lot of years.
16?
16 years. Okay. That's a lot.
We were married in 2006.
Yeah. Coming on 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Math matches.
17 on the
You're doing-
17th.
Okay.
There we go.
So Andy, you do insurance, right?
I do.
Work actually right by the Springfield campus.
Yep.
Is kind of where you're based out of. Insurance for
I do health. Life and health is my go-to.
for more businesses.
I do individuals and businesses.
Okay.
So,
So you've been doing that for many years.
yeah.
Okay.
Since 2005. So, yeah, 17 years.
Okay. And Shelley, you work
Retired.
outside the home, retired. What do you retire from?
Okay, so I started my working career as a travel agent.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I was a group tour coordinator, so I did bus trips,
Yeah.
large cruise gatherings.
Ah.
Yeah,
okay.
so it was
Okay.
very fun.
Okay.
And then after that, I went to work at O'Reilly Auto Parts,
Heard of them?
carburetor specialist.
Yeah. Did you know they're based in Springfield?
Really?
Yeah. It's a little fun fact.
No, I worked in corporate there for almost 5 years. And then Taylor was born.
Yeah.
And after maternity leave, I said, I think this is not for me. So I quit my full-time job to stay home with Taylor and started working part-time as a sports writer and photographer for KY3's The Ozone.
Now, I remember you would come on duty taking pictures of girls
yes.
tennis.
Yes.
And Sydney was playing, and you get some
Yeah.
good shots of her, some action shots. So, yeah.
So I did that until I was sort of forced into retirement because of health reasons.
Well, let's walk into that. So, walk us through a little bit of that health journey. So, what was that?
Okay, well, I can tell you my medical journey, I don't know what you'd call it, began on about 8:30 p.m. October 18th, 2014.
Okay.
Roughly.
Roughly,
yeah.
give or take a few minutes. Actually, and I know that because it was my birthday.
Okay.
And I took a bite of birthday cake and had like a sudden tingling, shocking sensation in my jaw. I thought, ooh, that was weird. Guess I need to see the dentist for a root canal, because that's what you think.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of weird, and then it went away, and I thought, okay. So I made an appointment with the dentist. He did some x-rays and said, your teeth are fine. I don't know what's going on, so just kind of watch it.
Yeah.
So over the next couple weeks, and at this point, Taylor was 1.5. She was 1.5 when this started. Over the next couple weeks, it became more frequent and more intense. And so I went back to the dentist, more x-rays, more tests, nothing. He sent me to a root canal specialist who said, nope, still nothing wrong with your teeth. Back to the dentist. He sent me to an oral surgeon who diagnosed me with trigeminal neuralgia. And I said, what is that? And he said, I don't know. He said, that's kind of what we diagnose any mysterious jaw pain. And I said, okay. So from there, he put me on some medication to kind of calm down the nerve. He said, basically, you have like an overactive nerve in your jaw. And so we're going to try and calm that down. He said, and maybe if we can calm it down, it will heal itself. There's no telling what caused it. And then, we'll go from there. And I said, okay. So I start taking this medication. It started making me crazy. The neurologist office calls to schedule my appointment. Turns out it was the wrong hospital, because there are 2 in Springfield and they don't cooperate with each other very well. So they're like, oh, we're sorry. So then I went to my primary care doctor, who said, oh, I can take care of that for you. He put me on different meds, and it was just a whole kind of nightmare. Finally got into a neurologist who did an MRI to discover that I have a blood vessel wrapped around my trigeminal nerve at the base of my brainstem.
Okay.
And he said the only ways to treat that are basically medication. It was like an anti-seizure meds for the rest of my life, or brain surgery.
Okay.
So I tried the meds for a little while. They weren't working, so I met with a neurosurgeon who had me on the operating table 2 weeks later.
Wow. Okay, it was just something that they believe was there from the very beginning? It was a long time?
They think it was there from the very beginning, and then it just over time, the friction just rubbed through the sheath of the nerve to where it was never going to get better on its own. And I mean, it went from like, oh, a little twinge when I bit into a piece of cake to I couldn't
go outside.
I couldn't go outside. Just the wind on my face would cause just crazy shocking it was just my whole face. So I couldn't go outside. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't eat. I couldn't shower. Couldn't wash my face. Couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't talk.
Wow.
And probably the worst part about that is so this was like a 1.5 year journey trying to figure this out. And when your 3-year-old daughter at the dinner table just reaches out and touches you and says, "It's okay, Mama. I know your face hurts. It's okay. We can make it better." And it's just like when your toddler recognizes the amount of pain that you're in, it's just terrible.
So, Rue, your angle of this, for you guys are trying to figure this out. You've got this young family, and your wife going through this. How was that for you?
It was stressful. And in the beginning, whenever it was okay, we need to get in to see the neurologist, and she calls, set the appointments, like, oh, it's a year out, and I'm like, I've got contacts in here. I kind of high up. I know who to talk to and get this stuff in, and then I found out I'm not. And so it's just kind of get pushed back down. And then the hardest part, I think, for me seeing it is when she's in all that pain, there's nothing to do. It's like, do you go over and give her a hug? No, I need my space and just do it. And I'm like, do I just stand here and look at you in pain? Do I leave and just let you be? I mean, it's just, that was the hardest part, was just, how do I help you? What can I do to help you? And there's nothing I can do. Yeah. I mean, so it's just, that was the hardest part on my end, I think.
So you guys go through this. You finally get to a spot where you have brain surgery.
Yeah.
What was that recovery like? What were the results like?
The surgery ended up being a little more involved than they had anticipated. They basically went in and put a Teflon pad. They cut a hole in my skull, went in and put a Teflon pad between my nerve and the blood vessel, but they had to put more than one in, and the tissue was so compacted that it just was a little...
They had to move one of the nerves out of the way, which they were worried about.
My optical nerve, they had to move, and so it was just a lot more than they had thought. And so originally they had told me that
couple days in ICU,
expect to be in ICU for 24 hours, and then a couple days in recovery. 3 days you should be home. You won't be able to drive for 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, okay, so 2 weeks, I'll be back to normal. And I was actually leading a small group at North Point at this time. And so I lined up one of my people to kind of lead the discussion. I'm like, so 2 weeks, I'll be back in 2 weeks. So I just need someone to fill in for a couple weeks. So it's fine. It's fine. Well, after surgery, I don't really remember
It was about
anything.
5 days, I think, in the ICU, I think we had. And then they moved us to just a regular room for a couple days and just wasn't getting better at all. They're like, well, maybe you just need to go home and then you'll get better at home. So I think we were in for 8 days initially, went home, and like 2 days later, she gets a blood clot in her leg and we're back up at the hospital again. Or blood in your lung. Yeah, blood clot in your lung. And so
I woke up and I couldn't breathe and my head is just throbbing. And so my mom wanted to call an ambulance, and I'm like, no ambulance. So she drove me in, and they're like, oh, yeah, you are going right back in.
Yeah.
So for another
recovery
week,
was fun.
Yeah. And as a result of the surgery, the nerve pain is gone.
Okay.
So I no longer have that pain. But the right side of my face and part of my head is numb. Okay. So I can't. My son threw a Hot Wheels car from across the room, smacked me in the face, and left like an imprint, and I didn't even
When
flinch.
you're eating dinner with her, she's always got food right here because you just can't feel it. So just
please let me know. Okay.
So that'll be.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then, so after surgery, I get home and I wasn't getting better. So the nerve pain was gone, but now I had like this crazy pressure and just throbbing in my head that we just thought, okay, it's just, I had brain surgery. Yeah. So months go by and it is still just not getting better. So I went to see more specialists who ran more tests. I went to Barnes in St. Louis and saw specialists there. And they just diagnosed it as chronic migraine. And they said it can happen as a result of brain surgery because of just all the fluid that's been manipulated in your head, that the balance is off, and there's really no way to cure that. So now I'm on ongoing, like monthly injections for that, and then I have a backup medication to help control the pain as a result of the surgery.
So this has been something you just have had to deal with and continue to walk through. Walk us through the time where I believe it was in Florida. You went to Florida for
Yes,
some medical checkups, or
I say I have this ongoing pain in my head, but there are certain things that make it worse. Like there are different triggers that will just trigger these episodes that can last for days. And changes in weather really is a big trigger.
Living in Missouri is about the worst possible
spring
thing.
in Missouri is the worst.
Yeah.
So we had taken the kids to Florida the year after my surgery, and I was so nervous to go because I thought, what if I get down there and I just have to spend all week in bed with a headache? You know, I thought, it's okay. I mean, at least Andy can take the kids to the pool or whatever, and, you know, we'll suffer through it. We get down there, and my head was clear for like the first time in a long time. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I felt like myself. Yeah. So after that, like I needed another excuse to go to Florida. But any chance I could get, basically, we were going down there. Yeah. And so fast forward to 2020. Yeah. It is the pandemic. Yeah. Everything's shut down. School is closed. And it is spring. And my head feels horrible. So I was like, you know what? The kids aren't in school right now anyway. We're going to Florida.
Florida's open.
So we have a good friend whose parents, who are also good friends, they have a condo down there that they graciously let us use. So we had a place to stay. We just had to get down there, and we booked it for 2 weeks. We're like, we're going to ride out the rest of spring in summer weather. So Rue did not go with us.
Someone had to pay for it.
So, that's right.
So it was myself and my mom, and then my 2 kids. So my mom was coming with us. And we get on the plane, headed down, and I just cannot wait for sunny weather. So we're on the plane, and the couple weeks leading up to this, our son, Cannon, had been showing some interesting
He'd been drinking like crazy. He couldn't stay. He was parched all the time, always drinking nonstop, peeing nonstop. I mean, just crazy.
Like he would say, so he had just turned 4. Yeah. And he would say, I'm thirsty. So you're like, okay, you'd hand him a bottle of water, and he would just chug the whole thing. So I'm like, that's weird. And it got to where we couldn't even drive to Springfield. So like 15-minute drive, we'd have to pull over on the side of the road for him to go to the bathroom, because he couldn't last more than like 15 minutes without having to pee, which was weird. And we get on the airplane, and I probably took him to the bathroom 8 times in a 2-hour flight. I was just like, what is going on? And my mom, in her infinite wisdom, said, I think it's diabetes. And I said, what? No. Like, I don't know anyone with diabetes. Why would you even like suggest that? It was just weird. But she had a first cousin who was diabetic, and so she had known some of the things, but no, like firsthand. So I was just like, oh, she's just worst case scenario kind of thing going on, and he had the croup, and so anyway, we get to Florida, and we're in the condo, and Cannon throws up, and I thought, oh, that's weird. And my mom's like, oh, I think he needs to go in. Well, it's the pandemic. Yeah. And you can't just go see a doctor. And we're in Florida. So I called a friend who has a diabetic son, and she said, "Hey, I have a test. We can just check his blood sugar and see." And I said, "Well, I'm in Florida." And she said, "Okay, just go to Walgreens, get a meter, test it, and then you'll just know." And I said, "Okay." So I go to Walgreens, get the test. We test his blood, and it errors out. I thought, "Oh, great, I got a defective test." So I test myself, I test Taylor, I test my mom, and we're all normal. Test Canon again, it errors out. So I'm like flipping through the manual, and they said this error that was popping up means his blood sugar is over 600.
Okay. And what would normal
be? A
be?
normal range is around 100.
Okay.
So I called Andy and said,
where do we go?
What do we do?
Ugh.
So I called his pediatrician back here, and she said he needs to get to urgent care right now. So I call urgent care, and I said, "Well, I think he needs to be tested for diabetes. We tested his blood, and it's saying he's 600." And she goes, "Oh my gosh!" And I said, "Now I'm a little worried."
Yeah. Yeah.
I was holding it in pretty good up until this point. So she says, "You need to go to the emergency room." We go to the emergency room. They tested him. They're like, "Yep, it's diabetes." His blood sugar was 1,097.
Oh, man.
Which was one of the highest numbers they had seen there, especially in a kid that was 4. They rush us by ambulance to the Children's Hospital in Orlando. And
I got on the red-eye flight.
Ugh, what a helpless feeling.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the crazy thing is he felt fine pretty much the whole time, because when Shelley called me and told me, they're like, yeah, they said apparently him drinking all that water. I was like, well, how bad is it? I mean, he's acting fine. How is it? And she's like, well, they told me him drinking all that water saved him. And I'm like, saved him or what? And she's like, mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, because he just flushed all the toxins out. And so it was.
How long were you all in the hospital there?
About a week.
Yeah.
No, we were just there 2 days there, one night in Florida.
No, we were there more than that. Ken and I were there one night. We spent 2 nights in the NICU. And then they moved us to that other room.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Then when you
3
got
or 4
back
nights.
up, I can't imagine the learning curve of what do you like.
It was-
Is that easy to learn?
Oh, yeah.
Is
It was like piece of cake. Okay, we got this.
Is it? Or
No.
it doesn't?
No,
Okay.
It was scarier than bringing home a newborn baby. It's like, here are
Which
here
was
are
scary.
your needles and your syringes. Here's the insulin. Don't give him too much or he might die. And then all this testing stuff. So it's like we come home with all these supplies and medicine, and
It's like a bubble, like a level on there with the bubble in there. It's like, okay, if it goes out here, okay, give them more insulin and bring them down. Okay, if it's to here, give them sugar, bring them up. It's like, and then they shove you out the door. Said, all right, just keep that bubble in here, and then you'll be fine.
Wow.
Or like, oh, so what affects that bubble? Well, everything.
everything. Yeah. So at first they tell you, you have to count the carbs. You put him on a kind of a
Low carb
schedule of test it here, he eats here, you test it again, then he eats, and you correct, and you give the insulin, and if it's too much, you give him the sugar, and then you watch his activity, and it was a lot.
So at what point, or has it got to a spot where you're like, oh, this is manageable?
It's all manageable, but relative. I mean,
It's
we sleep a
it's
little
day
bit
to
better
day.
at night now. A little bit.
Yeah, probably
it
every
depends on the
day
day.
it's something you think through.
Every day is different. Like last night was not a good night.
Yeah.
So some nights I'm like, oh yeah, we got this. He's on technology now where he can, we see his blood sugar all the time. I can see it on my watch.
Yeah.
And he's on an automatic pump that talks to his blood sugar monitor, and it automatically adjusts his blood sugar. So theoretically it's hands off and amazing. And then nights like last night happen where
And technology happens, and it's not
technology happens.
Yeah.
Growth spurts happen.
Yeah.
You learn that everything affects your blood sugar. Everything. So it's not just not eating cupcakes and ice cream. It's also growth spurts. It's adrenaline. It's
And it can go both ways with it. One time you can do one thing and it goes high, one thing you do it another and it goes low, and it's just being ready to adapt, basically.
It's constantly learning and adjusting, and beyond even just what you learn in the doctor's office, I would say.
Well, that's where I want to kind of land the topic I want to really make sure we kind of land on is what I've been fascinated in is the kind of community you found. And so I want to talk about that for a couple moments, and then I want to talk. I'm fascinated of what you're doing for other people in a situation like yours. So tell us a little bit about the community. What resources, what community have you found that have been very helpful for a family wrestling with this?
Well, I'll say we found hardly anything. So that's what we kind of led us to. We've got another friend that was diagnosed about the same time Cannon was. And then Shelley's
as an adult,
cousin.
he was diagnosed.
Yeah, he was an adult.
They were both diagnosed as adults.
And then her cousin was diagnosed, and just kind of feeding things off of them. Hey, what are you doing here? How's this working? Doing things like that. And then a couple months ago, he called me, Trey, and basically said, do you guys have any desire of doing a foundation? And we're like, yes, for about the last 2 years we've wanted to. We just life and don't have time for it. But now that we've got some other people that are go-getters to help out, so we started our own foundation to try and fix the lack of support and help and education in our area to try and make a difference.
Tell us, what is the name of your foundation?
It's T1D, and it's TEE like a golf tee, because me and Trey are both golfers, and that's how we did it. And so we're going to try and use golf to raise the funds. So TEE, 1D, so like type 1 diabetic, T1D. Okay. So people in the diabetic world know the lingo. Yep. People that don't are like, that doesn't mean anything to us. And so
is that a website?
So we've got a Facebook page that we've got up. We're on Instagram.
So you can just search.
Not real hip.
It's TEE 1D on both of those.
1D Diabetic Foundation.
Okay.
And so that's how you can find us, follow us. We've got a golf tournament coming up June 30th. And then some other events we're going to start setting up afterwards.
So June 30th is going to be at Springfield Country Club?
Springfield Golf and Country Club, yep.
Okay. And that is if someone's listening right now and they can just sign up for it? Or how can they be most helpful for this?
So anybody and everybody is welcome. So we've got, if you want to just play golf, you're a golfer and you want to play, you don't have any ties to diabetes, great, come join. If you want to be whole sponsors, there's advertising spots on there we're taking. Big time sponsors. If you want to get in, get your name out, we are getting quite a few followings here. Surprisingly fast for what we've done since we've just started. We've gotten quite a bit of support here locally so far. So
best way to get connected to either maybe sponsor the tournament or to get a couple friends together and join the tournament is go to
T1D on Facebook. You can message us there. Is the best way, and then one of us will reach back out.
There's a link on there to sign
There's
up.
a link, for the golf tournament. You can.
We're going to put that link on the show notes for our YouTube watchers. But here's what I'm fascinated with is a lot of people would be paralyzed by the pain and by the journey and by the lack of resources. And you've found yourself now saying, well, how do we help others? Was there a season where you just pouted? Because I think I'm prone to pout.
You mentioned last night I was pouting a little bit around 1 a.m.
I took it from the standpoint right off of the bat that, hey, this is treatable.
Yeah.
It's not something that he's fighting for his life nonstop. We kind of are, but realistically, it's not a childhood cancer, leukemia, something like that it's just like, well, what's the percentages he's going to make it? So, we knew he was going to make it. It's just this stinks.
Yeah.
So I took it from that way, try to be positive on it, that side.
And I, as a mom, the last thing you want to see is your kid to suffer.
Yeah.
And trying to take as much of that pain away from him as possible, and trying to, my thing is, when you first hear diabetes, it's like, oh, he can't eat this stuff, he can't do this stuff. What are his limitations? And he doesn't have to have limitations. And so I want to help him live as normally and just to thrive.
Yeah.
And that's what this foundation is to me. It's one thing that's, like I mentioned, just getting that the care beyond just the doctor's office, learning from each other.
Yeah.
And I think being diagnosed during the pandemic really was a challenge because there were no groups. You couldn't just meet up with other parents whose kids were going through this. And that was my driving force was, like you'd hear about people who were diabetic, but you couldn't like meet them.
Yeah.
I joined Facebook groups. I started listening to podcasts with tips and tricks on, how to handle growth hormones, how to properly bolus for meals, how to handle activity and going low. So, like those things I had to figure out for myself. And being able to build a community in our immediate region of other parents who are dealing with these things that you can talk with about that.
Yeah.
And then
for the kids as well. Because Cannon, sometimes he just comes home and he just gets sad. And he's like, how come I'm the only one that's got to wear a Dexcom, a glucose monitor? How come I have to have a pump? There's nobody else. There's one other person in his school that has it. And so it's like, I'm the only one. But then one of the coolest things, the first week we kind of went live with the foundation, we got 4 or 5 messages that, hey, my son's 6 and he's been wanting to try and meet somebody. And, hey, this is awesome. We're so glad. What can we do? And just stories like that coming in is like, you're right, there's nothing here. And my son wants to meet other ones. And we just want to have pool parties and get together and just have a community of people. And so the kids can all play and see, hey, there's other people just like me.
Yeah.
And then the parents can get together and talk about, okay, what are you doing with this? How are you doing that? And just picking up things from people that you don't when you're isolated. It's just you.
And so we want to be able to host those events and maybe even host events where we could bring in guest speakers, dietitians, that kind of thing, and then
just make it free for everybody. Nobody has to pay anything.
So that's what the purpose of this golf tournament and any other fundraisers going forward would be to raise the money so that these families that are dealing with this, it's not another burden on them to be able to join us. So, and that's kind of how we came up with the name T1D is, Andy and Trey are golfers. And then also the idea of using golf as a way to fund the events that we want to plan.
Okay, so one more time, the date of this golf tournament?
June 30th, Friday, 1 o'clock, tea time, 12 o'clock lunch.
All right, so go to the link or go to TEE1D on Facebook or Instagram. And I know that this has impacted, everyone's been impacted either directly or by someone they love. Right. And so let's get the word out.
And if you're not a golfer, that's okay. If you say, hey, I've got a business and we can get something donated from one of our suppliers. We've gotten some people that have, we've donated.
You'll be able to leverage that gift into a way that helps families
We'll
connect.
use that to raise money as a raffle, as an auction, something like that to go in so we can still be benefited by it.
Okay, Ebbrechts. I love the Ebbrechts. You all have been such a big part of the North Point mission. I know your involvement in the Dream Center, your involvement in groups and Bible studies. You just bleed this mission, and it's so meaningful to see you go through really significant pain in your own journey and to figure out a way to point the arrow out. It's not expected of you. But the fact that you do it, I think, speaks to the God you serve, and it's a gift to those around. So let's get the word out. Let's create community for people who feel overwhelmed and all alone. They don't have to be. I think this could be helpful. So thanks for sharing your story, and I know it's going to help people on the other end. So we love the Ebbrecht family. So
thanks for having us.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Hey, Riff listeners, thank you so much for being with us today. Again, forward this link to somebody who you know could definitely utilize this. And if you're able to, tee it up for a good cause. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.